Welcome to the Above Center Leadership Podcast. I'm Marcy.
And I'm Allison, and this is our chance to learn from leaders who know how to get results while staying above center.
Let's get started. Hi, and welcome to the Above Center Podcast. I am always excited for these conversations, Allison. And of course, today I'm very excited because we've got Kirsten Moorefield, who is the co-founder and CEO of Cloverleaf. Are you co-founder and CEO?
I'm co-founder, chief strategy officer.
Okay. I knew it was something like that, but I want to say thank you so much for being here. You are a two-time guest for us because Cloverleaf is growing like crazy, and it's the epicenter of how Revel does all of our work. So we are so grateful for your work, and we'd love to just start by welcoming you and maybe tell the story, a little bit of an insight of who Cloverleaf is and how you came up with this brilliant idea.
Sure. And thank you so much, Marcy and Allison, for having me. We love Revel Coach. I was telling you right before we started recording that your name is everywhere. People inside of Cloverleaf are talking a lot about you. So it's an honor to be a double guest. So Cloverleaf, we're an AI coach. And actually where that spawned was about 10 years ago. I was early 20s, promoted to be a first-time leader, given zero training, zero support, and was totally confounded by the people that I led. And why is it that this person can feel like they're the future CEO and this person can feel like they're totally disempowered and being asked to do grunt work when they're given the same assignment, right? So I thought, you know what? I'll have everyone take Myers-Briggs and StrengthsFinder, and we will find the answer. I will know how to motivate my people. I'll know what they need. We'll be able to communicate better. It'll be wonderful. Had them over to my apartment. We did a little offsite. I thought it would be great bonding, and it was just totally flat. And it did not go anywhere. It didn't help us at all. And I just continued to lead in a lot of confusion. And in hindsight, I can look back on that and understand why. But at the time, I just thought something's wrong with me. Why haven't I figured this out? And somebody that I worked with said, hey, how about we just go start a business where we bring technology and assessments together? Because this is an old market that really hasn't fully digitized. Okay, you can take it online, but technology can actually deliver the insight people need when they need it in their flow of work. So we set out to do that. We launched our first commercial product in 2018 when the world actually revolted against the term AI coach. So we called it automated coaching there for about 5 years, and very excited now that we have such a solid foundation. We've got 45,000 teams that have used our product. We send 5 million coaching insights every month. And it is actually such a good time in the world where people are starting to realize, AI really can help us with human connection. It seemed so counterintuitive, but now people are really coming around to start to see that.
So I know a lot of people are afraid of AI, as you had mentioned earlier. They're still stuck in that. But how do you navigate that part of it where people are afraid of using AI, and so then they don't necessarily want to interact with anything that's AI, even though Google is, AI, going to your ATM is AI, all that stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I think we've always had people who were, even before we had the term AI, people were uncomfortable with their personality data being known by others. They had bad experiences of being put in a box and being misunderstood because they're introverted, not extroverted on sales teams or whatever it is, right? And so with what we've always said when people feel uncomfortable with it is, that's okay, you don't have to use it. That's totally fine. Or you can keep your data private. You can get on and just use it for yourself, but not share with anybody. You don't have to use the AI features, that kind of a thing. But it's really the social proof that starts happening around them when their peers start to experience a lot of benefit and share those stories that people start to realize, oh, okay, it's actually perfectly safe. So the short answer to that is you let other people experience the benefit, and it starts to become something that's not scary, but something that they recognize how it can be truly helpful.
So I'm going to give a quick version. If any of our users have not used Cloverleaf yet, you are welcome on our Revel Coach website to get a free account and try it, what we're talking about. But what's interesting, one of the greatest things that I learned was that it's almost like when you do a workshop, like a disc workshop, a very common style is okay, put all the D's in one corner, I's in another corner, S. And But if we did it with Cloverleaf, that's one workshop. And then we'd say, now let's do Myers-Briggs, and everybody's in different corners. And then you
Yes.
do energy rhythm, and some people are morning people, afternoon people. So what I love the most about Cloverleaf is you can't label anybody anymore because we're like a Rubik's Cube. We're like, we're all yellow on one side, but then we're mixed the other way. And you guys do such a beautiful job. What I try to share with a lot of clients, if they are resistance before they start, it's
Yeah.
like they don't say anything mean. I don't, I have to ask the question like how you get the softener in it, but it's like, you have dark hair or you live in Florida. It's like all like facts. And you read your fact, you're like, yep, that's me. And
Yeah.
you do a good job of being like, this is why it's good and this is why it might have some limitations, but no one's really ever embarrassed by a Cloverleaf coaching tip. So
Yeah.
is there something you do? Is there an algorithm that helps bring that to life in a way that's
Yeah.
there is? Of course.
Yeah. Of course, yeah, we're very intentional about that. I mean, we use a tool called Prompt Layer, so we plug into the large language models that a lot of other folks are using, but then we fully control what goes through into our platform through Prompt Layer. And yeah, we've worked very hard on our prompts that I always, my rule of thumb is, hey, if this person or if this team is experiencing a lot of trial, could somebody look at this tip and say, oh my gosh, that is so Allison, that's right. That's why she's so impossible to work with, right? Like, could they use it as fuel in a fire that's already being kindled, right? And if they can, then that's not safe. That's not helpful, right? Because whatever it is you could say about Allison that's difficult, I believe, and there's a lot of psychology behind this, is actually tied to a strength of Allison's, and all strengths can be taken too far and have blind spots. But how do we help highlight that strength and how you can leverage it for good? And how do we also help you see how you might be part of this equation, right? So like, I don't know. I'm Allison. I don't know you well enough to know if this is true, but I'm just going to say it. Allison is very, detail oriented. She can get right into the weeds. She really wants to understand how something's going to work before, going into it. Whereas, let's say you're on a project with me, I am so future oriented, big picture thinking. I would just say, Allison, what if we could go to the moon? Wouldn't that be amazing? Let's shoot for it. And then she would say, oh my gosh, like how much fuel do you need? Do you have a rocket? Do you know how much metal it takes to build a rocket? And I would say, whoa, naysayer, like, what are you doing here, right? And so that's just an exaggerated example to say, if we put that into Cloverleaf, it would help me see, okay, Kirsten, Allison actually just really needs to understand details. And so the more you can break it down or give her space to find those details or give her space to where she can go find them without you, because that's going to bog you down. We're just trying to help you see how do the different layers of your personalities come together and potentially clash, but potentially through that clash, there's actually different strengths that you should leverage. And you'd all get such a better result. Minus the stress goes down and the outcomes go up, right?
Yeah, and that's the whole goal with coaching is to bring out people like less friction at work and to figure out how to work well together. So Alice and I started Revel, and when we started it, we wanted a like-minded community. And that was like a big branding thing, like build this
Right.
like-minded community, and we had a description of it. And as we got more involved with Cloverleaf, I got more obsessed with like-minded is fun because we're all like, atta girl, atta girl.
Yeah.
But diversity of thought is one of the most important things. So you want that person like, slow your roll, Kirsten. We're not going to the moon tomorrow. Like, let's kind of
Mhm.
figure out the details, the flight plan, all that stuff. So whenever you look at the dashboard and you have too many people in the exact same area,
Yeah.
that's so obvious on the way Cloverleaf works. You're like, okay, who can you bring into the room to help you think a little bit differently to make sure the project is, considering every element, and you want to have that diversity of thought. So are there any
Absolutely.
examples like with your team of how you lead with it? So I feel like Cloverleaf is growing so much in terms of functionality and people. So
Yeah.
how are you as a CEO leading the future change and where you're headed, and like how to use the technology with it? Like, can you go a little bit into
Yeah.
leadership approach?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think one of the biggest problems that we face, and I think this is just global right now, the world is changing so fast. All budgets have gotten constricted everywhere, largely due to tariffs, but economic. How long have we been in a maybe soft landing? Like how many years? And with that, AI, especially this year, I've seen it in 2025. AI is actually helpful enough to start replacing certain jobs, right? Which then you have fear, and then you have, so like there's a lot of things that are causing fear, clamp down, worry, all of that. And at the same time, we have a need to go faster than ever. And we have equipping to go faster than ever because AI is actually truly helpful. Like, yes, you could view it as like we should replace people. We view it as, oh, finally you can augment people. You know, with just as many people, you can do multiple times more, right? So you're asking for your people in this time of fear, in this time of intense change, to just, you know, do things totally differently and think really optimistically and invent a whole new future. Yeah, right? And that is just not how the brain works. Everyone's in their limbic brain with fear and worry, and you're asking them to use their creativity, which is in your like frontal lobes, which shut down when you're in fear, right? And so how do you help get people to that place? So much of that has to do with human connection. And actually, as I just mentioned, like when you're in your limbic brain, your frontal lobes, which is where your imagination, your ability to envision a different future, where all of that lives, a brain hack is actually when people feel human connection, their brain can like re-regulate, and your frontal lobe can come back on, you know, online. So, I mean, and we all know this, like if you see a kid crying and screaming, all they need is a hug and then they can chill out, right? It's like we need the professional adult version of that, right? And so anyway, so you asked, how do we use our tool? Like that's a huge part of it, is how do we really make sure that we're understanding each other? And so one thing that Cloverleaf does is it proactively just sends you tips, right, about who you're working with so you can know each other. And we are pretty well versed in a lot of that now. So it's really common in conversation. Like, for example, this morning, I was in a one-on-one with somebody that I lead, and she was bringing up, hey, you know, here's places where I'm feeling stress and pressure. And I said, yeah, but can you imagine when we get to this point, how all that stress and pressure will be all better? And she said, you just totally dismissed what I had to say. And I was like, "Oh my gosh, thank you so much for being honest with me." And she felt, because we have established this language now where she needs me to match her intensity so she understands that I am taking the problem seriously. Whereas my personality type, how I deal with stress and pressure, is dreaming of a better future, and we're going to get there and it's going to be worth it, right? Which helps me, it derails her, right? So I needed to adjust my style. So that would not be possible if we didn't have this pattern in our relationship where we're really open to self-awareness, being able to challenge each other, being able to understand each other better. And using our product has been one of the core things to establish that.
All right. So, but I'm assuming you guys still fight. Like, do you guys
That
like,
was a fight, yes.
I know. Well, that was a fight. Okay. It sounded really nice because I always kind of wish more people had Cloverleaf so they can articulate it. Like, I feel
Yeah,
like it gives me a prompt to say it differently in a way that
yeah.
matches their language. But when I imagine the team at Cloverleaf, I imagine you guys being so self-aware and so stuff that I'm like, they still have to have normal
Oh, we have so
growth.
much tension. I mean, I can explain to you that the world is stressed because we feel it too, right? Like everything I explained, we're a technology company. Technology is getting massively, I mean, like just think of it like you were going along, things were moving, and then it was like boom, right? Like impact, like massive impact of all the things that are happening with AI. We're venture backed. Venture capitalism has fundamentally changed the past few years. Like there's just so many things that have changed in our world. And I know it's true for everyone listening. They might be different things, but so much has changed. So yes, we absolutely have stress and tension. And usually that stress and tension shows up as people saying, I don't have the information I need, or I'm not included in this process. But if you dig into that a little further, it often comes down to like, I'm just not feeling heard, or I don't know how to effectively articulate my needs, or like, you know, because every department has competing priorities. And so it usually first shows up in, I think we have a business problem or a process problem. And then it usually goes down to like, oh, it's just a relational need to understand how to communicate better with a key player or a key team.
Yeah. So that brings me to the idea of hiring. So when you're looking for new people to join your team,
Yeah.
do they take the test first? Do you sit down and use that as a strategy? how do you onboard them? Like, how does that happen?
Okay, so we actually are split in our own company on how to do this. So we have some people when they're hiring, they have everyone take the assessments or like 2 or 3 of them, right? Just so that they could see like, okay, this person is not this way. So I want to ask, I think it would be important for the role for them to say, be really analytical. And I'm seeing in their disc that they're like a DI, right? Which is not a very analytical personality type. So they would just know then what questions to ask, right? Like, and they would ask situation-based questions to make sure that, so you never want to use the assessments to say, oh my gosh, they're a DI, they could never be analytical. You want to use it to inform how you speak to them, because I mean, Marcy, to your point, maybe they're a DI, but they're also in ISTJ, which is extremely analytical on a different assessment, right? Like, no, you can never fully predict somebody, right? But I actually never have people take it because if I'm really honest, I think I'm biased and I don't want to introduce that into the process. I just want to get to understand like how do they do things. And so I always have people do, like I always give them an impossible problem to solve and I see how they think on their feet. Like I do other things to see how they show up, but I don't do the assessments. And then another part of that too is I actually want to see how motivated they are. If I don't tell them to do it, do they go and figure it out on their own, So we use it in different ways. But then once they're onboarding into our company, like when somebody is hired, we have a woman, Peggy, who's on our staff who has overseen so many things about our product content, our coaching, and now is over our services that we offer as a company to like help implement our product. And so she will actually come and do a team session with every team, like give them like 60-ish days once they're a little bit more implemented. We don't do it right at the beginning. We let people kind of get to know each other, and then she comes in and does a session on, hey, how's it been going? Have you seen like these different things showing up? And she's using the product to walk them through that.
And we have started that on our search side, on our executive search side of the business. So we offer a Revel 90 as a part of like when we place somebody, we offer Cloverleaf for 6 months for the entire team.
Yes.
And they usually expect us to just be typical recruiting company where you recruit somebody, you place them, and you leave.
Hi.
And I mean, the feedback from our clients is just amazing because it's actually leveling up so many different people than the one person we placed, and how they can kind of create dashboards from it. We had one client, it grew to like 300 people. Like it really, because it's, the way we do it for our coaches license, and there's so many teams that love it. So it's just, it is quite amazing how insightful.
Yeah, and I mean, all along, the new hire is getting tips on every single person they're working with, their new boss. Everyone's getting tips on them. So, like, yes, we do a like deeper intervention, 60 days in with a coach coming in and talking to them. But like the whole time, the self-awareness has been being built for everyone, right? And I think that, Marcy, that's what you're getting at is it's not just, hey, plop in good luck. It is you are being served, you're being supported every single day with proactive tips that are coming right at you in your flow of work to help you understand how do you integrate well.
Yeah, like when they're remote too, like they get so nervous when they're coming to corporate office to give the welcome presentation and they're going to talk to the CEO. But when they know who the CEO is, like they actually have connection with them before they even met. And, again, there's so many great things about it, but that's just like a underlying psychological safety that they feel like they belong and they start knowing each other.
Yeah.
So Kirsten, that brings me to the point of our Above Center podcast. So we love to use Cloverleaf as the above center as a framework in order to help people stay above center. So we know when you go below center, you're feeling less than your best. And a lot of times you show up less than your best. But when you can go back to something like Cloverleaf in the assessments, you can be like, hey, I'm feeling a little stressed. What can, help me get out of my funk? So that helps. So how would you implement sort of that above center strategy to people?
Right. Specifically using Cloverleaf, is that your question?
Yeah.
I think any moment of stress is such a good tell. It's just a sign that something is off. I don't think stress in and of itself is inherently a failure, right? And so let's say, I'll use an example. My co-founder and I, oh my gosh, so frequently I will feel unheard by him. And I know he's a good human. I know he's trying to hear me, right? But I will feel that. And we've been working together for, like I said, almost 10 years, right? And so I will just go into Cloverleaf and I will just type out, I had this conversation with Darren. I was trying to make this point. I felt like he got defensive or something like that, right? And it will then just tell me, here's your style, here's his style, this might be what's happening, right? And then I can continue the conversation from there of just well, how can I do better? I had this actually come up with our head of sales where I asked a pretty straightforward question in a meeting and he just got kind of thrown off. And then I watched, the rest of the team in this group meeting just come to his defense and kind of it was like Kirsten did something terribly wrong when I thought I asked a really normal, vanilla, just straightforward question, and I was like, I have no idea what just happened in this meeting. It was so bizarre to me. So I went to Cloverleaf and I said, what could I have done to stress him out? And it told me, when he's in stress, here's his style. Asking point blank questions might feel offensive. And I was like, it was a very point blank question, and if he's under other stress, then this could do it. And I was like, okay, well, what can I do now to help resolve this? And it told me, give him some space. Do not bring this up to him. Definitely don't ask him about his feelings and bring it back up in a few days, which was so painful for me. I mean, it was so painful because what I wanted to do was immediately call him. He's remote. I wanted to just call him and say, hey, I'm so sorry. I must have done something wrong. How are you feeling? Are we good? Because I'm a very feelings forward person. And if I had done that, I mean, we've all been a part of those meetings after the meeting that just continues to spiral, right? And Cloverleaf helped me fully avoid that situation. So I think my answer to you, those stories are to point to Cloverleaf. Whenever you're feeling a point of stress, you can come into the platform and get an objective perspective that is short and as fast as you need it. You can get it in 3 sentences or you can keep going deeper, but that outside objective truth that helps you see the other person's perspective can get you out of your own potential overthinking, the loops you play in your mind of what really happened. You probably don't actually understand their perspective of what really happened, and it just helps you have some calm in that. And then you can, I mean, it can also help how do you reapproach that person in that situation. And a lot of the times that person is you, right? A lot of the times it's just, I'm feeling overwhelmed. I'm not sure what I should do today to be actually helpful, or I'm feeling, whatever. It can also be just about yourself. Stress doesn't always only come when somebody else pricks you.
Well, and it's such a good example, though, that the sales example. So with Cloverleaf, you can learn a little bit about where there's clash. And then you're like, okay, that's right. So you kind of put your guns down or your defense down. And that's step one. Awesome. But the second part, which I find is so unique with AI coaching, is that it actually tells you with your personality advice to not call him, give him time, don't be feelings forward. And if you have the discipline to actually trust it,
Yeah.
you do handle it better. Instead of for us, the below center line, you put yourself in a victim loop because as you interact with people from a below center, I'm insecure, I feel bad, I asked a direct question, I realized I pissed you off, and now the whole meeting was bad. You're in this victim loop. So
Yeah.
then you overcompensate with your personality of feelings forward. And he's like, chill, I just need a minute. And it
Yeah.
continues below center.
Yeah.
Instead of pausing.
And then I'm pulling him down below center,
Right. It's a victim loop. It's the victim loop.
One of the things that people always love when I say this is on our platform, there are 214 different characteristics. So, introverted, extroverted. They're on a scale, all of them 0 to 100. You could be a little or a lot extroverted, right? Times 214 characteristics. If you combine 214 on a scale of 0 to 100, how many different personality combinations could there be in the world? 1.2 trillion. There's 8 billion, a little over 8 billion people alive. There's 135 times more personality options just in the assessments we have on our platform than there are people on the earth, right? And so you really, truly never understand how somebody else is going to show up. And if you're honest, you never really, truly understand how you are going to show up. We surprise ourselves with sometimes for the better and sometimes for the worse, right? We surprise ourselves. And so, yeah, it's just that objective outside breath of fresh knowledge, unopinionated, no agenda. It's just a technology that's helping you understand, hey, these are patterns that this person probably has or that you probably have, right?
Yeah, it really just kind of simplifies it in a way of a third party saying it so you can read it and you can choose to feel like it's correct or you can choose to feel like it's wrong. But either way, there's a conscious choice that you have to say, well, why do I feel like it's wrong? Or why do I feel like it's right? Like
Right.
you're having a private, confidential moment with understanding the dynamics of one person, or you can even search the entire team, like all 10 of them or however many people on that team. So I'd love to ask you a question about your quote that you picked. So we ask all of our guests to pick a quote that kind of anchors them above center. And I'd love to know
Mhm.
what your quote is, if you could reveal it for us.
All right. So my quote is all trust is built through rupture and repair. So this is actually a psychology concept that I first heard actually on a podcast earlier, probably about a year ago. And it's one of those things that was a slow burn for me that really I pondered it for a few days and it has really blown my mind. So going back to that example with our head of sales, when that rupture happened in that relationship, when I clearly offended him and I didn't understand why, and I felt all the discomfort of that rupture. And my tendency was like, oh my gosh, I'm the co-founder. Why did he just do that? Maybe I need to step into my authority some more. No, wait, I hope I didn't hurt his feelings. And what did I do wrong? I'm going into all those thoughts, right? And I just went back to this quote and I was like, okay, we ruptured. We will repair and then we will have deeper trust, right? Rupture is not bad. It is actually unavoidable if you are truly trying to solve problems, if you are truly trying to grow yourself, your business, your team, if you're truly trying to change anything, there will be rupture. And like I said, there's 1.2 trillion different ways that that person's personality could be. So there's no way you can't rupture them unless you're avoiding them, right? Or unless you're not truly speaking your heart and your mind and your ideas and your perspective and your department's needs, right? So if you're really showing up and they're really showing up, you will have rupture, and that is okay. It is
Mhm.
it is so helpful to just recognize it's going to happen. It's not good or bad. It's just part of this, right? But then what you need repair. And it is the avoidance of repair or the clamping down in your own perspective being correct that makes repair impossible. And then that's when you start to have a loss of trust on teams, right? That's when you start to have organizations getting political. And you get to the point where people are like, oh, yeah, don't ever call that head of sales. He's just going to get defensive. You can spiral into these things that start to create a lot of separation. And then, of course, that's how you lose information. That's how you lose, sales is then not included in our deep strategy conversations about growth. How can you do that without sales? Well, okay, we'll include him, but we won't listen to him. And you can start to just see how that spirals to derail an entire organization. But when you repair, a few days later, I was at a conference with him and I felt awkward. I could feel that we were ruptured, right? But I just went up to him and I said, hey, can we talk about what happened the other day in that meeting? And he laughed and he apologized and he said, I don't know, that was really weird. We could just be human who talked about it together. And now we have deeper trust. Now we have that thing we can reference. I can talk about it on a podcast because he understands, like we've talked about it so openly. Um, anyway, so yeah, all trust is built through rupture and repair. So if you have a loss of trust, if you have a lack of trust, it's because you have not repaired ruptures. And that could be because you've ruptured and not repaired. It could be because you've never ruptured because you're playing it too safe.
Yeah, that's kind of when I asked the initial question, like, do you guys fight? I
Yeah.
feel like, when people are working really hard, they should bump into each other and they should fight for like what they feel is the fastest way to get the results or have the customer experience. And then I just think of you guys being so self-aware. I'm like, I wonder if they fight. But
Oh, yeah.
yeah, so what you're saying is so true because that rupture is the point of where better ideas come from because
Yeah.
you have to have the space like, okay, how could I have thought about this differently or why is she right or wrong? And that's so helpful for a leadership team to think differently and not make assumptions like we're good.
Right. I used to say to our leadership team, we need to have a lot more conflict. That wasn't very well received. So then I started talking about like
more rupture.
I need you to bring your perspective. I need you to push back. I need you, that kind of thing. And now we have such a high functioning leadership team where it is so common where, somebody says something and somebody else disagrees with them, but it is respectful and it is challenging, but we all view it as valuable and helpful because, sales can't understand what's happening in engineering, and engineering can't understand all of what's happening in sales unless we are really, challenging and bringing those different perspectives to bear.
Yeah, that's so true. And trust is one of those things that is not defined ever, between the billions of different combinations of people. Like people view it differently, experience it differently, but without it, results are slow and stress is higher. And then it kind of causes like that, that common experience where it's like, here we go again, here we go again. And I just love this idea of like the phrase that you have, rupture repair, because then it gives the language, be like, okay, I feel like we might have had, the beginning of a rupture, but did we listen to everything? Is there more to the story? Or you can give words to the repair and be like, I think we need to start working on a repair. How do we want to go about it?
Yeah. Yeah. Another thought on this, going back to the leadership team and how I was like, we need to have more conflict. I think that our leadership team would have said at that point, we have a lot of trust. And that's why, as engineering, I'm going to sit back and I'm just going to let sales do sales, right? Mm-hmm. Because I trust you. You can go with it. But there is something to when you have a bunch of people who at the table who really care, they will bring different perspectives and have you establish that environment where everyone can lean in and the trust is actually not a passive, like, you got it, but it is I'm leaning in, I really care, and I want to bring to your perspective something I know you don't see because you're not me. You're not living in my world. You're not seeing what I'm seeing, right? And that is really where you start to have so much positive value creation happen.
Yeah, that's awesome. So any last tips? Like if you're talking to somebody, if we have one of our users, now they're like, wait a minute, what's this technology? How would I actually use it day to day? So as a CEO, give us an example of like, tomorrow, like how you'll kind of tap into Cloverleaf or how you'll use it maybe for like a team meeting or anything, just to kind of give real world examples that this isn't just like an assessment, good to know, but now you have my real job.
Yeah, a number of ways. So one thing actually we were just talking about today is it's Q4. And in our world, AI coach is like taking off as an industry. And so Q4 is really important, but you know what? Q1 is also really important. And so we have our people under a lot, like tight deadlines, big deliverables for this quarter that as soon as we hit them, we're going to say, amazing. Guess what? We got more, right? And it's just a season that we're in. And so one of my people brought up to me, she's like, how do we actually give people a buoy in this scenario, right? Like where we are saying, hey, we recognize the pressure, we recognize the stress. And, our leaders are doing so much to like motivate, help, all of that. But she said, I think we might actually need more than just our usual, right? And our usual is like, we'll open meetings and say, oh, I got this tip on you. And is this true of you? That kind of a thing. And so we're actually going to give every team like 60 to 90 minutes where we're going to facilitate a time with them, which is for us actually very abnormal. We're very much the people who are like, let the technology do its thing, right? But I think we are recognizing we need more of a pause and more intentionality put on how do all of us show up differently when we're in stress and pressure, right? Mm-hmm. And we're going to actually stop producing to talk about that because we know that we will then produce so much better for all the other hours of the week, right? And of the quarter and of the next quarter. So that's actually an abnormal answer. I usually don't give that type of an answer. A lot of the other things we'll do is like I said, it's in the moment of tension, of stress, of what went wrong. So actually, like I ruptured with somebody this morning. It's the example I gave you. And I've had it in the back of my mind of I need to go into Cloverleaf and just better understand like how do I meet her in this moment, right? And what am I doing? Another thing that I am currently observing in my life, being totally honest, is that I do make other people defensive. I've just started to notice it in my marriage. I've started to notice it in like a couple of different conversations at work where I've been like, at first I was like, why did that person, I was going into Cloverleaf saying, why did that person get defensive? And then I realized, wait, if I'm saying this about everybody,
There's a theme.
I am the common denominator on this one, right? And so like we now have the ability where you can go in and you can set up a plan of like, hey, I want to work on being on not triggering people to be defensive. And it's actually starting to just like coach me through that over like multiple weeks, right? It's not just a one-time interaction. So yeah,
That's
I hope
incredible.
those examples
I
are
assume
helpful.
that's on the beta version.
Correct. It's beta, but it will, again, like I said,
I'm
we got a
excited
lot.
for it.
We have a lot coming in Q4 and Q1. That one will be live to everyone else in Q1. Yes.
I had a little insight on it. Peggy showed it to me a little bit and it looks amazing because then
Yes.
you actually have a person or not person, a technology that knows
Yeah.
your struggle and kind of talking you through it, which
Yeah.
is phenomenal. But I will say we had a podcast interview last week. It was a former Navy SEAL and he does mindset coaching. And we asked him like, okay, what's the number one trick like for mindset when you're working with somebody from corporate America or somebody dealing with a lot of stress? What's the number one thing? And the answer surprised us because the answer was sleep. And
Oh, yeah.
and what he's saying is like he gave the whole same brain explanation, but what you're doing for your team is during this moment of so important, we got to push through these boundaries right now. They don't actually know how to turn off their brain because they're so committed that by you having the intentional workshop to slow it down, you're tapping into like the lower brain waves to give them that rest. So their brains are kind of going on overdrive. You're giving that moment. So I love that you shared that.
I love that your last guest said sleep because I actually have myself, I've started to make sure I'm prioritizing sleep and my personality has changed. Like it is really interesting. I'm just a lot more present, calm, able to do, and with that I was able to give up caffeine, which I think also helped, with like so much less like sense of urgency and yet so much more is actually getting done, right?
Amazing. That's
Sleep
amazing.
is so powerful.
Well, this has been another great conversation for our two-time guest. We are so glad if you're here and just so thankful for the work that you're doing. It really is helping so many people enjoy life, enjoy the people they're working with because they just have that much more self-awareness and then awareness of others. So thank you so much for this interview.
Thank you. Thank you. It is truly an honor. And I am so thankful for all the work you do to help get our product and our platform to more people so that they can experience that change, that life change, that more presence, more understanding, more wisdom. So thank you very much for the work you're doing.
All right. Can I tell you what I love about Cloverleaf?
Yes.
Is that it takes the idea that you can help your relationship with somebody else, but really what it's doing is helping you understand yourself better.
Oh, it's so true. It's so true. There are so many things I learned about myself. Like I'll tell you my favorite tip that I got, and there's sometimes a theme at this, but it says, just because you're really enthusiastic about your new big idea, you might want to give your team some space so they can understand it as well and ask you some questions. I was like, oh, excellent point.
Yeah, that's like the little rupture there,
Yeah.
I can't
You didn't know I was on chapter
rapture.
10? Why are you still at the intro page?
Come on, get on the program, people.
But I was laughing at her having the talk about the fight with the VP of sales. And I was thinking to myself, like, oh, this is such a good quote. I want to use this as a highlight reel, but I hope he wouldn't get mad. And then she said on the thing, like, we've gone so much in the repair and trust that I'm even talking about on podcasts. I'm like, it's definitely going public.
But yeah, I think Cloverleaf is just one of those products that's way better than a horoscope.
Yes. Yes. And for the record, if anybody's still listening, it's free for you because Revel pays for it. So we felt we so believe in this product that we're like, you know what? We have to be able to offer it to more. So we decided to lean in at that level. So if you are listening, you can go to our website. There'll be a pop-up and you can get a free clip.
Sign up.
And we don't work for them. All right, Allison, I know you probably know from my Cloverleaf, but it's the end of the day and I start going to my sunset mode.
All right. Well, better together.
Better together.
Learn more at thererevelcompanies.com.
That was fun.